Hey, Scott and I are back. I'm trying to
Yes,
think of a pop song. We're back
back
in the
in the
saddle again.
USSR.
Yeah,
Don't know how lucky you are.
I've got my, it says YouTube now live on your channel. Jackie Brown and Harvey compared.
Jackie Brown. I know Jackie Brown. Harvey. I don't know what Harvey you referred to.
Harvey is the Jimmy Stewart movie about the giant rabbit.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we had talked about that.
Well,
I guess we're.
I compared them just by virtue of I said Elmore Leonard would like the dialogue in Harvey. So
Oh, when you said that, I didn't realize that was the movie you were talking about. Oh my
yeah, yeah.
gosh. Yeah. Sure.
Because it seemed,
Uh,
it's humorous. It seems kind of natural. They seem like real people. It's a nice little play, a lot of fun. And it's
I'm gonna
got a
fucking.
guy that is kind of cool, even if he's,
Oh yeah.
if everybody's claiming that he's insane, he doesn't let
Isn't
it
it's
bother him.
Jimmy Stewart, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He's a war hero. Of course he's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
How could he not be cool?
yeah.
He's a legitimate war hero.
Have you never seen Harvey?
Oh gosh, it's been years.
Yeah,
He says he sees a rabbit and everyone thinks he's crazy. And I
yeah.
don't remember if was he really seeing a rabbit? I can't remember.
Yeah, he was seeing a rabbit as far as he was concerned, but then it turns
Oh,
out that it's kind of it evolves. His sister, who is the one that is firmly committed to having him
committing him.
committed,
Yeah.
is actually comes to see it herself,
Oh
and
really?
she flips out a little bit.
I would flip out too if I saw a giant rabbit.
Yeah,
I think so.
and I think they had a name for it that was actually kind of like I'll have to check that out.
Wait, wasn't the rabbit Harvey?
Yes, the rabbit is Harvey. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know
Did
what
I
it.
give the impression that it was Jimmy Stewart was Harvey? No.
You said they had a name for it.
Yeah, they do have a name for it, but that's just what Jimmy Stewart calls him. He's actually
Oh.
a kind of a spirit animal that
Oh, I
that
see.
has some
So
sort
they
of.
explain it then.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a mistake.
No, well, because Stewart knows all about him for whatever reason. Well, Harvey's
Gotcha.
told him conversationally what he is.
I gotcha.
Hmm. While they were drinking together, I guess.
I gotcha.
That's the other thing. It's pretty clearly hinted that Stewart's character is no doubt an alkie.
Alcoholic. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that would be one big explanation for why he's seeing
Yeah.
pink
Well, the
elephants.
little pink elephant gag.
Yeah, yeah,
That used to be a comedy thing, and in a common in cartoons, the guy gets drunk and he sees pink elephants or
yeah.
flying elephants or whatever.
Hmm.
Uh, you know.
Part of the DTs. Usually, when you haven't been drinking, is when you see
Oh,
them. I guess.
is that how that works?
I think so. I think that's it. It's part of
No, no.
the withdrawal is when you really see them coming out of the woodwork. I
So
wouldn't know. Thankfully, I've never had that deep a hook in me to where I needed to be sweated out.
I feel like if I drank, of course, alcoholism runs pretty heavy in my family. Thankfully, not my immediate family, but a lot of my uncles have had or currently are dealing with alcohol issues.
Oh, it's
And
awful. Of course,
my
Russell
grandmother,
was the worst.
my dad's mother, his I had three grandmothers because my grandfather, my dad's dad got divorced. My dad was a kid,
Hmm.
and he got married again pretty quickly. So growing up, I had three grandmothers, and one of them was an alcoholic.
Hmm.
I don't know if she ever completely kicked it, to be honest with you, and so that growing up seeing that, even at a young age, it really, it made me go, it's not for me, because I feel like if I did drink, I would be, you know, one of those guys that went for it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
and I've seen, what it can do to people, certainly. And I don't, not that I mean, I don't drink. I don't really condemn people that do drink. I'm glad I don't. I'm glad my wife doesn't, but,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people I know do. No big deal, but, so I have a
Well,
book here
and
that I want.
the deal is that
Oh,
it's so often played for laughs. It's like ah ha ha, drunks,
well,
aren't they
we have this
funny?
weird, we have this weird relationship in this country, in our media, with uh, drugs and alcohol, and
Yeah.
and we laugh at it until someone hits rock bottom, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, you
Right
know.
now, the biggest payoff that's coming down the road is like, you know what? All this, like, I've only got one issue for voting, and that's is does that candidate support free marijuana? It's
Yeah,
like
or legalize.
there's going to be a yeah, legalized marijuana. There's going to be a
Oh yeah.
payday for that. That stuff isn't good for you by no stretch of the
Mm-mm.
imagination. And it's like,
No, I got a
okay,
friend of mine who's always like, I think I'm gonna get my marijuana card because
yeah,
he's on disability. He doesn't
uh,
need it. He doesn't.
yeah,
It would not help him,
yeah. No,
and
it wouldn't.
he's got some problems. And you know what I always tell him? I always go, because he's like, oh, it's no worse for you than drinking. And I always tell him,
No,
dude, think about this. Have you ever had anybody go, that guy was really dumb until he started smoking pot, and then he got
yeah,
really smart?
yeah,
You know, it never goes that way.
no.
It's always like, ooh,
Even though I've got to
you know.
admit, as much as these guys that, of course, it's dumb, but I would before I die, I would like to try
Oh no,
some psilocybin. I,
salicylic acid.
yeah, yeah,
Wait, is that the mushrooms or is
yeah.
that
That's the mushrooms. Yeah,
oh, okay. Before you die.
before I die, or for that
Well,
matter, that could be the way I die.
it might be,
ODE. Oh, oh,
especially if you're not good at identifying mushrooms.
yeah, yeah. There you go. Just have a bushel of them. Start eating them.
Ooh, ooh,
No,
okay.
that'd be a bad
I don't.
hurt tummy kind of way to go.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I mean, and people always say, oh, they take drugs and this is crazy, and I don't really desire to be,
Go
that
crazy.
to go crazy like that. I don't. I mean, I knew guys in art school that took drugs, and they'd tell me stories about, and it's like, I don't desire that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see things. You know. Um. So I want to tell you about this book I got.
Yeah. I
I've
can
had
see
this
you
for a
had a
little
book
bit.
out there ready.
I've had
What
this
is
for
it?
a while. Um. The recently I ordered some books online, and this kind of popped up. Now this is called Marvel Comics in the '60s, an
Uh huh.
issue by issue field guide to a pop culture phenomenon, and it's put up by Tomorrow's Publishing. They do the Jack Kirby collector, which you may be
Oh
familiar
yeah.
with.
Oh yeah. I think I've got them bookmarked. Yeah.
I bought this at Half Price Books a while back. I don't know when I got it. I think I got it when I was out of town, maybe. And I've had this on my shelf, and I don't know if I've ever even flipped through it, Ellis. I just thought, hey, Marvel Comics in the '60s,
You had to have it.
and I've been reading it because, and I knew this, but I didn't know the story about them. There's a Marvel Comics in the '70s and a Marvel Comics in the '80s,
Mm-hmm.
and I honestly thought it was just an index. I didn't realize that because I thought what they did is it was just a list where they just covered all the books that came out, just talked about them briefly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really. It's more. They don't cover everything. It's more key things. There's a lot of behind the scenes photos and information, and
So it's actually a more of a history
it's
book or whatever.
it's more of a history book.
Huh.
And I've ordered the '70s one. And I was reading a review about them. And the review that I wrote a real long review on Amazon about the one in I think it was the '80s. It may have been the '70s, but it said the guy, and they're all written by the same guy, which is another thing I didn't realize. And there's only the three of them.
Who
I
is the
thought
guy? Who is the guy?
Perry Comtois, Comtois. Comtus.
Greek, maybe.
It's in Massachusetts, so I don't know. It doesn't say. He's an American though, so it's not a
Oh yeah.
foreign.
Well, I
I
just
mean,
meant Greek heritage.
yeah. Maybe. And I haven't. I just started reading it last night because I ordered this 1970s one. Because I love 70s Marvel, but I was reading a review about it, and in the review they were the reviewer was complaining because he said, "Oh, it's very obvious that this guy he takes the approach that the 60s was pinnacle Marvel, the 70s was the foundation of its downfall, and then the 80s was the downfall of Marvel."
Yeah.
And he went on to say that, and this was a reviewer on Amazon, not the writer. And he says, obvious, he preferred the 60s. And he complained, check this out, he complained about the fact that the writer blamed a lot of Marvel's downfall on their politics and the politics they allowed into their books.
Yeah.
And he said, I wish you just stuck to the facts and not commented on the liberal writers and editors and storylines that he claimed led to the downfall of Marvel. And I was like, this is
totally
right
right,
up
isn't
my alley. I was like, let me at him, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, well, and I think this will be a good companion to that Marvel Comics, The Untold History or The Untold Story, which is one of my absolute favorite books. Just because, I grew up reading Marvel Comics. I love Marvel Comics. I was a little late for the 60s. I was 70s, 80s. So it was a fluke. I just bought this because this isn't really my era of Marvel, even though I obviously revere all this stuff. But, I prefer the little bit later stuff. But
so basically, you've got the book in your hand of the stuff he hates or doesn't hate.
No. This is the stuff he likes. This is the 60s.
Oh, the 60s. Oh, okay. I thought you had the 80s. Okay.
No. I got this. I know it's covered up. I wanted to keep the price on there because I'm going to talk about it on the podcast tomorrow. I want Dave to see how much I paid for it. But that's
fairly standard thing, isn't it? It's like, look at the deal I got. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the deal I got, sucker.
Yeah. Well, you've done that to me even dozen times. You and your half price book luckouts that you're always getting.
No, but okay. Yeah, maybe I have. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't care.
Well, I've showed you.
I think it's interesting.
Amazing deals I've got. Half price books.
Oh, I haven't ever duplicated a single one of your. Of course, I don't do it like you. You're there.
No,
like a machine.
I haven't been in a while.
Yeah,
I was for a while. They screwed me because they do that construction. There's construction on 44, and so I can't do the 240 loop and go home because I get caught in traffic. That traffic is horrible over by the airport.
Yes, it is. Yeah, they. I don't know what they're up to over there. I hate it.
They don't either, apparently.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. They could use guidance.
A kick in the butt. Oh, they could use what?
Guidance,
the kick in,
some sort.
Oh, guidance. I thought you said Biden. Like they could use the kick in the butt Biden needs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. There's going to be a knock at my door in a second. They'll haul me off. I'll be on the January 6th commission, or not the commission, but investigation.
Yeah.
Man, in Oklahoma
there's
City.
Some of this stuff is going to be winding down here very quickly the moment there's an election shift. Once all that, there'll be quite a few of these investigations that lose their funding pretty quick. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. So I think if the elections go the way that they should, I mean,
that's the deal. They
have a guy that got most votes ever in history ever.
Yeah,
is complaining about how we have an unfair election system that has to be most votes ever. Complains about how we have an unfair system, and has the worst popularity of any president ever. A year into his, and his sycophants are like, this guy's great. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't, you can't ask any other politician about the president's job approval, because why would they're not going to, if they're for him, they're going to go for him. If they're against him, they're going to go against him.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
think that it would be, Nancy Pelosi is not going to go against. He could be slaughtering babies and barbecuing them on the Capitol steps, and she would say, he's a great president.
Yeah.
Look what he's doing for children.
Yeah.
And I mean, the reverse is true. He could, be solving cancer, and, the Republicans would, I mean, because that's how politics work.
Yeah.
You don't cut your own throat. So, I mean, some people, once in a while you get an anomaly, like a Romney or what was the guy that died?
Those guys were very clear on what, they just teamed up on what they felt like was a weak president. As far as they were concerned, there's no nothing to lose by ganging on Trump.
Oh yeah, especially in their position, they've all the people that realize politics. It's politics. It's a thing. It's like,
oh yeah,
I had an incident at work.
It's an IQ test, like you say, whether or not if you're dumb enough to say, yeah, that's a great guy. He and I get along great. And in fact, he's the sort of guy that makes you say, well, I could even switch parties. We're so close together. No, you don't do that.
Well, if they do, it's a calculation.
Yeah.
Because they're like, exactly. Well, my constituent is close enough to the middle that I can get away with that. And they like that. Some people like that. Oh, look, man, he's a centrist. He's reaching across the aisle. And they ignore the fact that when you reach across the aisle, you get bit.
Yep.
It's like this. I had an incident at work the other day. It's been a couple weeks now, but one of my employees, I had to call one of my employees to the side, and I said, look, I'm going to give you a lesson in office politics. And it's, she did something that somebody was very sensitive, somebody above her and above me for that matter, was very sensitive about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look, you were in the right, but this drives this guy crazy. And so this is what so of course she was like, oh, I had no idea. And I said, of course she had no idea. And it had to do with emails.
Oh,
and it was, if you get emailed, I don't know if I told you about this. If you get emailed, and there's like, if I get a lot of group emails, and I only answer it if either I'm addressed directly, like, Scott, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times we'll get emails that don't have an address, and there's a bunch of people on there. And so what I told her is, you always defer to the people that outrank you.
Mm-hmm.
Give them the chance, and she answered, and he thought it should have been his responsibility to answer. So he felt like she was kind of stepping on his toes, and he's like, you got to get your people under control. Well, I told her, I didn't tell her that he said that. I just said, yeah, that's something that he's very protective of his little area of responsibility. And so she's like, I had no idea. And I said, well, and so I told her my principle, you defer to people that are ranked higher than you, and kind of let them answer. If they don't answer within a certain amount of time, reasonable amount of time, then you can answer, or maybe even say, well, I'm not sure, what so-and-so would say or whatever, but I mean, she was trying to be helpful. I mean, she's young, she doesn't know, but I was trying to get her,
Well, it can, it can drive a certain kind of personality a little bit mad if they're very clear on how things ought to be done. And
he's like that.
And they want to jump right to telling the entire, everybody involved just where we're at and all that, and it's like that's not their job or whatever.
Yeah, he's like that. He's very much that's not their job kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty there's a lot of stuff that happens at work that just grinds me, but I'm just like, let it go.
Yeah.
I I don't, and I would never express 90% of the stuff to people. And it's not really that much, but and it's just like roll with it.
Yeah.
That's I am, and I tell my boss all the time. I'll tell him, I mean, when I got a promotion recently, I told him, I said, honestly, 90% of my day, every day, I feel super incompetent. So I'm surprised you're promoting me, you know. And I mean, when you go in it with that kind of attitude, how can you be offended? It's like, oh, okay, well, it was bound to catch up with me, you know. But what's funny is when you approach it that way, for me it alleviates a lot of stress because like, well, and what's funny is they go, oh, no, 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 you're exactly, that attitude is perfect. I'm like, okay, you want somebody that thinks they're incompetent, but I mean they don't, and I don't
No.
really think I feel inadequate a lot of times for my
Well, yeah.
job, but
Yeah. There's a lot of
you
that
know,
where you have to say, okay, I'm going to get,
there's just a lot of stuff.
yeah, it's a lot to do.
I mean, I'm over our sculpting, our 3D, and our tool and die department, which is basically like medallions. That's what I came out of. But there's always like sculpting questions. It's like, oh gosh, and I've got spreadsheets on when bronzes are coming from the foundry and all this. It's just like there's just a lot. People are like, Michelle will be like, what'd you do today? And it's like, I don't know. I ran around like crazy. I mean, I no kidding. On an average day, I'll answer, not receive and ignore, but answer probably 60 emails, in addition to everything else. So, I mean, it's like, I'm playing catch up.
Hmm.
I took off last Friday. I mean, I legitimately missed 2 hours worth of work. And I came in Monday and I had 50 emails that it took me all day. Well, till I went to lunch at 1 o'clock to catch up on my emails, but that's okay. Somebody's got to do it, right?
Yep. Have you ever heard of John O'Hara as a writer?
I don't think so.
Well, supposedly, according to little blurbs I was reading, he's not only a writer, he's the best writer that ever lived. He apparently
Oh, really?
invented kind of like what could be called the New Yorker, kind of like that guy that wrote The Swimmer, that kind of style where you write about just common, kind of semi upper crust people and all their little unhappinesses and all that. And so that's kind of like his shtick is writing all about that sort of thing. And so there's this movie called Butterfield 8. I thought, well,
I've
there
heard
it
of
is.
that.
It says John O'Hara's Butterfield 8. Well, it's a Elizabeth Taylor movie,
Yeah.
which when asked about it, she says, "I think it stinks." Because
Really?
apparently she was going to retire and just live happily ever after with Eddie Fisher, and they forced her to do another. She fought him over and got like $5 million. I don't forget how much money she got for Cleopatra, but she got a whole lot of money for Cleopatra. And then they came along and says, "Oh yeah, well you still have a contract with us for 250K." And so they got her that way. And so she was doing a movie that she felt like was way below her price point at that point. So, that'd be one reason why she'd say it stinks. But thus far, it kind of does stink. It's like, oh man, this guy,
Did you?
if he's the best writer ever, that sure is some nasty dialogue going on here in terms of like, no human being would ever say it. So it's like,
Oh, yeah.
speaking of Elmore Leonard and fantastic
Dialogue.
dialogue,
Now, so did you watch Jackie Brown?
Not yet. It's on hold. I'm going to pick it and Harvey up tomorrow. Which should I
Oh, the
watch
library.
first? Yeah,
I would watch Harvey first.
watch Harvey first.
I love Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
I love that. Have you ever read Rum Punch? That's the book it's based
Oh
off
yeah,
of,
yeah. I
right?
read Rum Punch. Oh, I saw something that I don't know how good it's going to be, but there's this uh, Miami detective that might actually be. Maybe
Oh,
he is the detective. Maybe in Run Punch. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, no, no, no.
Reyes or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was this. That was there was. He was in another book of Elmore Leonard's that they made a movie out of.
Pronto, right?
I think so. I think that's
Well,
correct.
Pronto is going to be revisited as a Raylan Givens story, where he will be taking and stealing basically, but he's going to be a Leonard hero, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. So he's going to be regrafted into Pronto. So that's
Hmm.
kind of cool. I mean,
No, that is kind of
of course,
cool.
I'm sure that so and so Oliphant, when you think about how long and skinny like that elf was in that later made Pirates, that guy, that physique doesn't last forever. So
Oh yeah.
I'm sure Oliphant's going to be a bit chunkier. He won't quite be the Raylan we remember.
The I read Rum Punch before I saw Jackie Brown, and
Hmm.
I liked Rum Punch a lot. I liked the main character. Her name was Jackie Brown in the book. I forget what it was.
Yeah,
It
I
was some.
learned that Jackie Brown was actually a character from Eddie, the Friends of Eddie Coyle.
Oh really?
Right, Eddie was it Eddie Coyle?
Yeah,
The friend, yeah,
Eddie Coyle. Yeah, Eddie
yeah,
Coyle.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Of course, that's one of Tarantino's favorite, both movies
oh
and
yeah, that's
books.
funny because that movie's dull.
I love that movie. I tell you.
Do you? Maybe I
Oh
need to
yeah.
watch the movie.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll watch the movie again.
I'll try it again. See if it gets you this
The
time.
library. Did you get the library? The library has it.
How did I see it? Shoot, I may have rented it. I don't know. Why did
Yeah,
I?
there
Oh,
you go. There you go.
I think I own it. That's right. I do
Oh,
own it.
okay.
Yeah, on Amazon streaming.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. There you go. I was half price booking you again.
That's
What, you
right.
paid for that? You could have
Yeah,
got it for free at the library.
sure.
I've watched the movie. I've read the book Eddie Coyle or Friends of Eddie Coyle,
Hmm.
and I want to like it more than I do for some reason.
Well, that's the deal. If everybody has been telling you, oh man, you've got to read this
No, no,
or
no,
see
no, no, no.
that.
I just saw it in the stacks of the library and checked out the DVD. I didn't know
Oh,
anything about
really?
it.
No, you didn't. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
just
me
thought it's
raving about it that caused you to go see it or
no, no,
whatever.
no. I saw it a long time. No, no, I saw it a long time ago.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, okay.
I, but oh, anyway, Jackie Brown to go to a Rum Punch. I like the main character because I could in my mind I can just picture this. I mean, because I've ridden on planes with a million stewardesses like this or whatever they call
Hmm.
them now. The the blonde with the bleach blonde, stewardess has done it for probably longer than she should have,
Right.
and just kind of wore out, and you know, and I mean I can just picture from Elmore Leonard's description because I've been on planes where there have been stewardesses like that, just
Sure. And
and
they're
so
worried about where they're at. They're
yeah.
about to trade that part of their life in. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know him that well, but I mean, I can see that in my mind, and then he's so descriptive, and the Miami setting in the book really, sets it, to me. I don't know when the book was written. I guess it was written in like '92, I think,
Hmm.
but I can see all that in my mind. And so there's a fundamental shift between the setting that I shouldn't like. That should really bother me, because the
Hmm.
main character doesn't look like what I think she should look
Yeah.
like from the book. But Tarantino and Pam Grier do so good at it. I mean,
Yeah.
Pam Grier, how could I mean, you could be a grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan and you would love Pam Grier.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she just got such a personality.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm in the Klan or anything, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying that the changes that they made to the character, which completely fly against what I pictured in my brain, which normally that drives me crazy because I mean that I didn't like Jurassic Park movie for a long time because I read the book before I saw the movie and I was like, well, that's not what the movie or that's not what the book was like, But then finally I watched it where I'm like, okay, this even though the movie has flaws, I could point them out to you, but it's pretty darn entertaining.
Oh yeah.
Especially compared to other Drek. But anyway, but so
I always like that real human thing where De Niro wants to turn around and boast to the little girl he's just murdered, basically, when he finds the car. It's like he doesn't realize, oh, well, yeah, I just killed her. It's like,
yeah,
you killed my little blonde surfer. Yeah, he couldn't get over that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the perfect. I was on a murder trial like 2 years ago, and a guy. It was two gay guys, and one of them just killed the other one, and I didn't think about it at the time, but in hindsight, when you talk about that scene, I can see that going down exactly like that scene, just doing it, and almost like an immediate
just
a
realization overflow of anger.
Just
put somebody in a box and make fun of them while they're in the box because you think it's funny.
Yeah. Especially somebody that's, got a violent
criminal
streak.
Anyway.
Yeah. De Niro, that was dumb. She should have.
Yeah,
you would think hanging out with what's his face that she'd be like, oh, maybe I need to watch my step.
Yeah. But if that entertains you,
maybe what's his face
bugging people. That was part of her personality, was being someone that bugs people.
A pest. I like to get under people's skin. Yeah. When I was a kid, I hated when people bug me like that.
Yeah, sure.
Still kind of do to a point.
And some people just just like vampires for it. They just love to see when they are under somebody's skin. They just go back for more.
Yep. Anyway, so Friends of Eddie Coyle, you liked it. You like it?
Oh yeah. I like I say, I see more every time, and I just can't get over how little they expect you to. That thing of like keep up. It's like that sort of thing is like not expected much from a lot of books or movies, and it's like,
oh yeah, they don't feed it to you. That's for
sure.
No,
they don't have any exposition in that dang thing. It's pretty amazing. I guess that's it. As somebody that's tried to be a storyteller, you run across that problem at some point where you're going to be in explainer mode, and it's like, it's always a big threat to. Keeping your audience with you.
Got too much can really kill it for sure. So have you seen The Killing of the Chinese Bookie? I know that's not the title. Killing a Chinese Bookie? Killing of a Chinese. It's with John Cassavetes, yeah.
I've heard about it and never watched it. It's got the usual crowd that Cassavetes does movies with, right? Ben Gazzara and Peter Falk.
Yes. I don't know if Peter Falk's in it or not. I don't think he is.
Okay.
But it's it's another one that I saw at the library. I was like, what is this? Checked it out. I kind of liked. It's about a guy I think he's a Korean War vet, and he gets in some gambling trouble. And
That sounds more like, in terms of the title, it sounds more like the Ben Gazzara one where he's, I can't think of the name of it now. Oh, well, go ahead. Tell me about it.
Anyway, so he had they kind of make it. They kind of tell him, well, if you'll kill this Chinese bookie, and it's kind of a setup. I mean, they don't set him up, but it's like the guy is expecting somebody to come after him, but he still manages to kill him and get out of there. You know.
Speaking of Ben Gazzara, I sure wish they'd release to common. You know, I mean, I'd love to stream both or all 3 seasons of Run for Your Life. I never missed that show when it was on TV. It's a lot of fun.
I don't know what that is.
It's a show, you know, with a premise it's going to age pretty badly of a guy that's got 1-2 years to live. So he's worked, been a career guy his entire life. And wow, this guy has got more movies than I would have dreamed he's got.
Who, John Cassavetes?
No, Gazzara. 133 credits. Seems like to me. Doesn't look like he's been in anything since 2013, though. Probably got a little too old. See if I can find what I'm looking for. The Big Lebowski. Jackie Treehorn. No, dude. What quick. On and off. St. Jack is what I was thinking of. Where I think he was again.
Is that about the guy that's the...
It says he's an American hustler in early 70s Singapore. Yeah.
Yep. That was on Amazon Prime not long ago.
Huh, maybe that's why I was thinking of it.
Okay, so that was written by, hang on, I'm looking for a book. I have a book, I can't think of the name of it, but it's about the Orient Express.
Huh.
And the guy, what's the name of that? The guy, he's a reporter. I mean, the author is a reporter for like one of the British newspapers, one of the big ones. And at one point, he pitches them the idea of him doing a series about the Orient Express, like in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Is it called Grand Bazaar? No, what's it called? The Grand Voyage? Something like that. Hang on. I think it's over here. But anyway, he wrote the book that's based off, St. Jack.
Oh, okay.
That's how, I mean, it's just weird. I can't think of the dude's name, though. But I can't find that book. But I have that book, and I picked it up. So I was at Aladdin Books, used to be on 23rd Street, right by Sears. When there was a Sears on 23rd, they were right by there. And then they moved up to 50th, and a couple of years ago they went out of business. And I was in there their last day, and they had a deal where they'd give you a bag, and you could fill a bag with as many books as you could for like $10 or $5 or something insane. And so and that book just caught my eye, and I just threw it in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read part of it. It's pretty interesting. And there's a sequel called, I think the sequel's called like Midnight Star. That I had the sequel too. I found it on the like dollar rack at Half Price Books. I was like, oh yeah, I have too many books.
Yeah, it's hard to think about. You know what I'm listening to right now on my audio book out in the car. I'm driving from my walk every day is
the park and back.
Yeah, the park and back, which, it consumes, a disc about every 2 days. So that's an hour's
worth.
Does
it really?
Yeah.
How far is it to the park? It's farther than I think it is.
Not that far, but it's only about 5-7 miles to
Yeah, I
me. But of
guess
course,
okay.
I got to get past the light and a couple other things, and I also may stop for groceries, even though it's obviously not playing while I'm in getting groceries.
To the store, yeah, but
Yeah,
you're going out your way.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh, that
yeah,
reminds me, I got Pete's coffee.
Anne Rice is impressive. She's oh, did I tell you what I
Oh
was listening to?
no, what are you listening to?
I'm listening to Interview with the Vampire for the first time.
It's
Uh,
funny. Somebody I've never read it or listened to it, but somebody gave me that book not long ago.
well, of course, she
And
died
with her
real recent.
passing, well, I've had it for a couple of years,
Hmm.
but I thought, I ought to read that.
Well, I don't know if I could read it because it strikes me as, for my taste, kind of slow.
Oh, really?
That it doesn't, it, but it shouldn't strike me that way because it is well written. It's just that is the way it strikes me.
No, yeah, well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
uh, but no, the writing is top notch, I would say. I kind of look forward to revisiting the movie. It's hopefully doesn't go away because right now it's free somewhere. I know I've got it on Netflix or Prime, one or the other.
I've never seen the movie. It may be on Prime.
Yeah, I think it is somewhere. So one of them.
The When we went to New Orleans back in August, we did a tour of the Garden District, which is kind of like the Richie area. It's the old rich area in New Orleans, and I was very offended because or not very offended, but it was a little annoying because our guide um was very judgmental. We were touring all we were not touring, we were walking down these streets where all these rich people lived, and he was very like, for example, he was very dismissive of Nicolas Cage.
Mm,
And he's like, "Oh, Nicolas Cage bought a house here, but he's not a true New Orleanian, or whatever he said."
wow,
And he talked about
I
how,
couldn't say that.
he just bought this house, and he doesn't live here all the time, and he's tried to fit in by contributing to this and that and does this, but we don't accept him because look at this gaudy house, and he's put all this money in renovating this old house, and we don't like that.
Uh-huh.
So then he goes to John Goodman's house, and he's like, "Oh, we love John Goodman because he lives here, and he's part of the community." And the guy said, "Oh yeah, in fact, the other day he came out and talked to a tour group and took pictures with them, and he's just one of us. We've just
Uh-huh.
embraced him." And then he went to then he said, "Here's Anne Rice's house," and everybody in New Orleans thinks of her as that crazy vampire lady, and everybody in New Orleans hates her. And
Huh.
I'm like, well, she grew up there. He's so
Yeah.
judgmental of Nicolas Cage, and it's like, what? I just
Yeah.
thought he was being kind of a dick.
Yeah. He's giving you
Because it's
his
like,
flavor of things. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, well, who cares who you like? Just tell me
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
their house. Don't tell me where do you live, dickhead? You
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
That's interesting. Yeah, that he would
Anyway,
editorialize so much on the
yeah,
personalities
the
behind the
tour.
facade. Yeah.
We've taken. There's a company. If you ever travel anywhere, for anybody listening or whatever, there's a company called Free Tours by Foot, and you walk it, so they don't have a van or anything, and they're free. But you tip the operator at the end, so they
Uh,
all the money they make is off of what you tip. And we've been
mhm.
on some good ones. This was the first one where I was like, okay, this guy kind of. I just found it really off-putting that he was so judgmental about somebody
Yeah, he
that
almost
had
sounds like
lived
a.
there. Yeah, and by the way, he didn't grow up there.
Oh
He
yeah.
he was a transplant, and he was like, "Well, we hate this woman because she's the crazy vampire lady." It's like, dude, she's the crazy vampire lady that made a ton of money and brought a
Yeah.
lot of notoriety to
Talk
your
talk.
city.
Yeah, talking about New Orleans with
Yeah, that
early
like I said,
vampires in it. Yeah.
I don't like this.
Yeah, I'm not monitoring anything. Come think of it right now.
Oh yeah. Are you watching the? Do we have any comments?
Let's see. Have any all-time favorite movies? Let's see. Well, we were just talking about.
No,
Well,
none of those are my
just because I
favorite.
have that fresh on my mind, I would say Eddie Coyle, Friends of Eddie Coyle. I love that
All-time
movie.
favorite movies. What's my all-time favorite? You know, um,
I like
I
Harvey a
have.
lot, and you like Jackie Brown a lot. We've
I
been
like
mentioning
Jackie
some
Brown,
favorites.
but I don't like Harvey. No, okay, so I would consider an all-time favorite movie a movie that when I am stuck for a movie or whatever, it's like, okay, I'm gonna watch this
Yeah,
movie.
you can watch it anytime.
Like
Yeah,
a guilty pleasure kind of thing or
sure.
whatever. It's like, hey, I'm gonna watch this movie. Um, this is gonna sound really weird. You'll probably disagree with this, Ellis. Escape from New York is one of my it's because I enjoyed it so much as a kid. If you set Star Wars and Escape from New York in front of me, I would watch Escape from New
Oh,
York
I
instead of
would
Star
too
Wars.
every time. Yeah, no comparison. I mean, you got one real tight, real nicely character-driven movie that got no, you know, it's
Yeah.
a lot more fun.
Um, Spider-Man 2 with the Tobey Maguire one, or
Hmm.
the second Tobey Maguire one, I guess I should say, is another favorite movie of mine. Like Escape from New York, I like because I liked it when I was a kid. I saw it when I was a kid, and I like Snake Plissken, and I love New York, even though it's not filmed in New York. But when I was a kid, that was my idea of what New York was like before I actually went to New
Sure.
York. And it's just a cool movie. It's a cool movie. It's I think Snake Plissken is just cool, and I I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, but yeah, I like that.
You were
Um,
justifying why it's a favorite. Yeah.
oh yeah. No, I just like the universe that it's in, the visual environment, I guess
Hmm.
is, and I love how its special effects are all practical, which I mean they
Yeah.
all were at the time, but
Hmm.
they did some cool stuff. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I have the board game. There's a board game, Escape from New York, that I bought when I was a kid, and it's put out by the same people that put out Dungeons and Dragons.
Hmm.
But it's real simple the way the board game is. But I've sworn that one of these days I'm gonna sit down and rewrite it and redo the board so it's like bigger and it has like an accurate. I'm gonna use an accurate map and uh, and I don't know. Anyway, Escape from New York is one of my favorite movies. Spider-Man 2. I feel like the Spider-Man franchise, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man franchise, really broke the boundaries for superhero movies. I don't know. I mean, there were some good ones before then, but Spider-Man really for part of it's like the time that I saw it, in the early 2000s. I was really getting back into comics. I was going to conventions at the time, pretty heavy, and I when I saw it, I was just like, this is so cool. And I think the second one is really, really good. And I like the fact that Spider-Man's a cool superhero. It takes place in New York City, one of my favorite cities, and he's a hero in that. He's To me, a hero is somebody that sacrifices what he wants to help other people.
Hmm.
That's and he does that all throughout that movie. He wants to be with Mary Jane, but he is constantly called into action as Spider-Man.
Hmm.
So he sacrifices his own happiness for Mary Jane's, and that's why. Well, I don't think they've ever captured that. The Spider-Man, the Marvel unit, the Andrew Garfield, who I think is really a decent actor, was never believable as Spider-Man, but he's great in Under the Silver Lake as a stoner.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah,
but
okay. I was going to say, who is that? Because I don't, you know what? I don't think I've seen a single one of that particular iteration of Spider-Man's. What did he make? Three of
the
them?
second two of them, the second one
Two of
is
them.
terrible.
Hmm.
I mean, like unwatchable terrible. First one is terrible. It's bad. It's not good, but it's got a great soundtrack. I listen to that soundtrack probably more than any other soundtrack. I don't know why. It's just a really good soundtrack. Um, so what are some of your favorites, Ellis? I've talked too much.
Oh, that's all right. Well, I was just watching the movies that made us, and so I picked, the ones that I would be more interested in as movies. But I realized it's on Netflix, and it's about uh, all these people's. They became. This was their career hinge point. Not just the top guys. This was for the little guys. This was the movies that made them. And so we're talking about model makers and script writers and stuff like that. For instance, Ed
Oh yeah,
Newmeyer or whatever for RoboCop. What it is just how incredibly impossible it is we ever even get to see movies. They're so damn
yeah.
hard to make, and
Oh, that's
so
true.
many things go wrong that it's just like, wow, it's just a marvel. And I guess, I mean, a lot of them are become memories, bad memories for everybody because they just can the whole thing. They shut them down.
Yeah.
And that can become very typical for something that's had a ton of energy. And I saw the one on aliens. That was fascinating. Everybody in England hated James Cameron, thought he was just completely full of himself, totally left the set at one time when he fired his assistant director that everybody liked. And it took him and what is his very famous wife, producer, what's her name?
I don't know.
But anyway, I could come up with it pretty quick. But she did Near Dark. Near Dark wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for her. But they came up together working for Roger Corman. And of course, it's got Roger Corman is in the dock and all that. These are great little things. And it talks about the aliens, and they had all the guys that did stuff for Stan Winston. They had what they called the trash bag Queen Alien, where they, to fill in the spaces, the big shapes.
Yeah.
They used trash bags for her, and they had to. That was how they did a proof of concept for it. Pretty cool. But I'd watch stuff like that.
Oh yeah. What
Let's
else?
see.
What's another favorite movie? If you're bored, you're like, I
I
want to watch
every
a
now and then
movie.
I'll see someone mention To Live and Die in L.A., and then I'll say, man, I want to see. I ought to just buy that. I have Sorcerer, which is a
Oh
retelling of The Wages of Fear.
yeah, I
That I
Barry lent
that
me his
it,
copy. That's great. That's a great movie.
It's a great movie, and I could. It's again one of those that is so tight and has such great characters. And I say they're great, but they're kind of like a character that you have to have that kind of like dark appeal, that you like that sort of thing, because everybody in that is doomed in some way or other.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
awful. They're awful kinds of people. They wouldn't be there otherwise. So
yeah.
you don't have a single hero in that. So
It's
dang it,
the
I'm
anti
looking.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Tangerine Dream, music by. That's what made me think of it. I didn't know
Oh
Near
really?
Dark's music was by Tangerine Dream, but yeah, Tangerine Dream does the music in Sorcerer.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that's a groovy soundtrack, I tell you.
Well, you know,
And of course, go ahead.
Barry tells a story about he went and saw it at the mall, and he said I went to the mall and I told them what I wanted, and they said what you want that, and he had to tell them like three times what movie he wanted to see, and he goes in and he's the only one in the theater because I think it came out the week before Star Wars came
That's
out.
right. I think that is exactly right. It's like, come on into my extremely well crafted movie by the maker of French Connection, which you all
Yeah.
loved. And it's like, no, I think I'll just go over here and watch
Yeah.
Star Wars.
What's this
Yeah.
fantasy movie about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's funny
but
though.
To Live and Die in L.A. again is Friedkin, and that movie, it's not for everybody. And
Oh, I saw it.
again,
I don't care for it.
yeah, exactly.
I saw it in
Everybody in that
theater.
is a creep,
Oh yeah.
including our hero.
Yeah, that was one of those movies that when I left, I was like, oh, I need to take a shower.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
but
I have not
again,
seen
one of
that.
those I like for some reason.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, all these people are horrible people.
Hmm. Whereas the Elmore Leonard likability factor is just not there for that sort of movie.
No, not at all, man.
But
Wait,
I
that wasn't
like
Elmore
Elmore
Leonard.
because he does at least give you scrappy kind of environments for his people. When you
Yeah,
think about how awful really everybody is in Get Shorty, they're awful, but you laugh at them.
yeah. Have you seen the TV series Get Shorty?
I have not. Is it any good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. The main guy, the Travolta character, is played by some guy that's British, which is kind
Oh,
of weird, or Australian or something.
are
But
you at all familiar with the Justified stuff?
uh-uh. So
Okay,
westerns?
the Justified TV series with Oliphant. Because there's just this one guy that I was just shocked after I did a whole lot of extra YouTube looking at stuff. His name is Dewey Crowe, and it turns out he's got this, just he's Australian or something, and
Yeah,
it's nothing like the way he actually speaks. And I was just amazed by that someone could nail an accent so completely that you're thinking that guy grew up there, didn't he?
yeah.
No,
He's an Aussie.
yeah, they do that a lot. These Aussies have got they can give you a totally different accent. There's another actress that I was blown away by the idea that she could pull off what she was pulling off as an American accent, and then you hear her later talking, and it's like, oh man, she'd much rather give
That's
you
why
that
they're
Aussie.
actors, Ellis.
Yeah,
They're actors.
I know it. That is the whole point,
That's
huh?
that's the whole point of being an actor.
Yeah. Well, there's John Wayne would never give you an accent, if he's gonna.
No. Well, he was old
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
He was not John. Look, as much as I like John Wayne was not an actor. John
yeah,
Wayne was John Wayne.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
you know, I mean, and
that's who he could play. Yeah,
that's who he could play. And if you didn't want John, I mean, Tom Cruise is kind of like that, in my
hmm
opinion. It's like, well, that's what Tom Cruise is. I guess he's done a few things that push that, but you know,
yeah.
definitely not a method actor. You know,
Is
they're
it the method? Yeah, the method. Yeah,
certainly not capable of inhabiting different roles.
yeah.
You know,
Well, what I was kind of surprised he did really well was the one where he's with Dustin Hoffman with the autistic
oh,
guy.
Rain Man,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
at the same
okay,
time, he's not. And of course, I don't even like the one where he is yelling at Jack Nicholson. That's
oh,
uh,
you can't handle the truth.
yeah,
I don't even know what that is.
yeah. I know. It's like too much
Yeah,
drama. That's funny. Too much drama in a movie.
there's supposed to be drama in a movie, Ellis.
Yeah, no. Well, I did it again. I did a couple of drawings. It just shows you though don't go in a solid week and then show up on your little podcast and expect to be able to draw in front of a horrified public.
Have you not drawn any this week?
I have not drawn all week long, and yet
Oh my gosh!
I've
what have you been doing?
It's hard to say. But at the same time, I'm storing up this need to get crack out the oil paints again and try a couple of experiments, because I feel like I finally got to the. I'm sure I know how Frazetta was starting everything. That he started everything with an extremely lean beginning and did a pick out, and I'm thinking I have to experiment with that, to where basically I'm using oil first.
Isn't there a documentary about Frazetta?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a movie called Fire and Ice.
The movie
No.
That's
a cartoon.
Painting with fire.
Painting with fire. Yeah. Painting with fire.
I wonder if that has him working. Have you seen it?
I don't think it does at all. I've seen it once.
Okay.
I may dig that out again. I need to watch that. Well, Scott, I think we've been at it an hour.
Yeah, I'm out of coffee. By the way,
I'm
drinking Pete's coffee.
Oh wow, that's
That's
giving
your
you a
brand.
lot of caffeine. I know that much about it.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. So we'll see if I sleep tonight. That's okay. I only got to work for 2 hours tomorrow. And it's going to be cold, so I'm coming straight home. And also go see Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, huh? Oh, you're going to go out for a theater experience, huh?
I may. I need to look and see if it's on at a time when I want to see it, and if I can get out of work. Work has the ability to blow up on me at any moment, and just be like, we got to take care of this. We got to put out this fire. Luckily, now what I'm now learning is, now that I'm the boss, I don't have to put out the fires. I have to tell other people to put out the fires. But sometimes I have to do it. But
well, Scott, you got any words you want to say to your adoring public?
No, thank you for watching.
Oh, you know what? I just wanted to tell you, I had a dream where I was vividly looking at some comic book project you had done.
Yeah.
And you'd put it out as an ash can edition. And I thought it was so cool. And it was like gaining some sort of weird momentum as being a pitch, as just an ash can. It was like an 8-page ash can. Anyway, really? I just wanted to tell you that for whatever reason, you had and the dream was funny because it was like looking at you drawing, right? Or how you're drawing right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess go ahead.
What's funny about that is I've read this book I've got this book about Marvel in the 60s, and this guy I read this thing where the guy's like, Marvel went down in the 80s and it changed, which I agree with 100%, by the way. I read the book, but I agree that Marvel changed, and I've kind of said to myself, well, I don't want to work, I'd rather do my own stuff, and I've recently thought, maybe I ought to try and pursue some of maybe the time is right to pursue something else. Not else like comics, but I've got my comic done. I still haven't heard anything about whether I got that one job, and it's like maybe I need to, maybe it's a good time to put together an 8-page ash can as a pitch. I don't know, so it's an interesting dream because I've thought about that kind of thing recently.
Interesting. Well, I guess we're done, right?
Sounds good to me, man. I need to get some coffee.
I'm pushing the button.
Okay.
Broadcast is